Folks, I'm not gonna bore you with some long-winded intro. You've read the title. Today, I'm going to make the perfect Mario Party board. Now, some of you may be scoffing at the very idea and lamenting about how hyperbolic YouTube titles have become nowadays. I mean, how can one claim to have created something objectively perfect when it is, at its core, based purely on subjective values? Nintendo has spent decades attempting to create the best possible boards. How the heck is some YouTuber with no experience in game design supposed to outdo them? Well, the answer is simple. I'm not going to create the perfect board. I'm going to derive it. See, there is a massive but finite number of possible ways you can combine red, blue, and green spaces to create a Mario Party board. And if there is a finite number of boards, that must mean that one is objectively the best. So no, today I'm not creating a board from nothing. I am creating an equation that will pull this ideal board from the ether. A perfectly balanced gaming experience, giving you the most optimized fun possible. Now, this may seem like a lot of work to go through for a simple game, but this isn't a game. This is Mario Party. Nintendo, if you're watching, Merry Christmas, because I'm about to give you the best possible Mario Party board. Richard, hit that intro. This video topic was voted on by all my supporters on Patreon. Real talk, making videos for this channel is my full-time job, and I would not and will not be able to do it without the support of viewers like you. So, if you can afford it and want to ensure that I can keep making videos like this for years to come, for just a couple of bucks a month, you can get access to a bunch of cool perks. We have an exclusive Discord server, exclusive live streams twice a month, and you can even suggest and vote on future video topics for this channel. I do my best to make it worth your while, so if you're interested, there's a link in the description down below. Right, so my goal is to make the perfect Mario Party board, but there's one problem. I've never made a Mario Party board before, so to learn how these boards are made and what makes them good, I scoured the internet for basically every list I could find. Tier lists, listicles, hour-long YouTube video lists. If you've made a list of the best Mario Party boards, I have seen you. And from this research, I compiled a list of around 20 boards that generally seem to be considered the best. And I picked apart these boards piece by piece to see what these transcendent boards have in common. And from this, I have derived the 7 factors of a great Mario Party board. If we can craft a board that excels in all 7 of these areas, then we will have the perfect board to strangle your friends to. The first factor is board length. We want to ensure that our board isn't so long that it takes forever to get anywhere, but also long enough that it doesn't get repetitive retreading the same ground over and over. Tallying up all the spaces for every board on my list, I was able to find that the best boards have, on average, 85 spaces. But in addition to the raw number of spaces, I also wanted to look at how long each board's loop was. After all, 85 spaces in a straight line is going to feel very different from 85 spaces in tight, branching paths. Wow! The average board on this list had an outer loop of around 48 spaces, with the remaining 37 serving as branching paths and shortcuts. This pattern even held true for the more linear boards like Pagoda Peak and Mario's Rainbow Castle, which only had an average of 50 spaces total because there were no branching paths. Now personally, I grew up playing boards like Goomba's Booty Boardwalk, so naturally, I think that these more straight race to the finish boards are hot garbage. So for our board, I'll be using these metrics. Factor number 2 is space distribution. We know how many spaces we should have and roughly how they should be arranged, but we still need a way to figure out what those spaces should be. Analyzing the maps of popular Mario Party boards, I was able to find the standard distribution of space types. On average, 58.74% of spaces should be blue. 10.23% should be red, 25.11% should be green, and the remaining 5.92% should be other types of special spaces. Bowser, Lucky, stuff like that. By maintaining this space distribution, we not only ensure that you get a nice mix of good and bad throughout the game, but we also ensure that you don't end up playing the same 5 1v3 minigames that they cannot figure out how to balance. What am I even supposed to do here? Factor number 3 is a bit more abstract than the first two, but no less important. Player autonomy. Mario Party is largely a game of chance, but you need to give the players some amount of control and influence on how the game plays out. Otherwise, you're not really playing the game, you're just watching a bunch of computers play roulette. Which ironically actually did make the list of best boards, so maybe that's fun too, I don't know. Essentially, players need to be given a lot of choices throughout the game. This can be accomplished by a simple fork in the road, unique shops with different items, and optional events like the Womp Tolls in Horrorland, bribing Goombas in Goomba's Greedy Gala, or those cannons in DK's Treetop Temple, which never send me where I want to go. No, stop, no! Giving players autonomy is crucial if you want to keep them engaged. But it is perhaps secondary to the fourth factor, that being that nothing you choose actually matters. Mario Party is, at its core, a cosmic mistake. Pure chaos, manifested as the perfect friendship-destroying machine. Sure, giving players lots of choices is good. But what's even more fun is giving them the illusion of choice. Yeah, sure, pick whatever path you want. You're gonna get chance timed into oblivion in a few turns all the same. This is what makes Mario Party special, and what keeps every single game tense and exciting. But it's a delicate balance. You need to leave players just the right amount of control, just enough hope to grab onto, so it hurts all the more when it's ripped away by the cold, uncaring power of statistics. The perfect Mario Party board should include an equal number of opportunities to create well thought out plans, and random chaos to completely shatter them. But you know what's even better than pure random chaos? When you get to inflict that chaos on your friends. The fifth factor is interaction with other players. After all, if you have no way of affecting other players in the game outside of minigames, you may as well be playing on 4 separate boards. A lot of boards will simply use items to accomplish this, but based on my research, boards with specific features that allow you to hinder specific players in unique ways are way more memorable. Chilly Waters has a frozen lake in the middle with lots of branching paths, so you can use it to get around the board super quick. But if someone else comes onto it, then it'll break and send you both back to the start. So you can literally throw yourself upon the sword and take someone else down with you. But Perhaps the most standout example for me is the best board in Mario Party history, Koopa's Tycoon Town, where you can buy out hotels from your competitors to steal stars from them. I tell ya, nothing feels better than planning out the perfect route to snipe a hotel from the person in first and suddenly make up a 6-star deficit. I took one business class in college and dropped it after the first day because it was way too confusing. But this I understand. With these 5 categories, you can make a pretty darn good board. But there is one more factor that I found cropping up again and again that makes a board truly spectacular. It's a little abstract and hard to pin down, but every single great board contains some sort of game within the game. A secondary goal or objective that changes the way that you play. This can take a ton of different forms. The aforementioned ruthless capitalism of Koopa's Tycoon Town, the stamp collecting side quest in Rainbow Galleria that can nab you a whole bunch of coins, or Mario's Rainbow Castle and Shy Guy's Perplex Express, where the star is temporarily replaced with Bowser, and suddenly everyone's scrambling to move as slow as possible. Ah! Adding in a little something extra that changes the basic gameplay loop is what makes a board truly memorable, and not just board : snow, board : fruit, board : actual biblical hell. And finally, the 7th factor is a bit less scientific than the rest, but a great board's gotta have a cool theme. Some kind of fun setting to tie the whole thing together. That's it. I don't have any data or examples for this one. Just make it look pretty. Probably should have picked a better one to end it on, but And thus, we have derived the 7 factors to create a perfect Mario Party board. If you need help remembering, here's a helpful acronym. If you want to create the perfect Mario Party board, you gotta be a I blame you for this. But now that we have uncovered this secret knowledge, it is time to put this method to the test and craft the perfect board. One that perfectly encapsulates each and every core tenet in perfectly integrated and layered ways. I wrote perfect way too many times here. And thus, I give you the Thus, I give you all the consummate Mario Party board, Larry's Ludicrous Lagoon, set on a beautiful tropical island. Ignore my terrible art, boring shape, and the fact that it literally doesn't actually have a lagoon. This is your standard type of Mario Party board. The star will appear in one of a few preset locations, it costs 20 coins to buy, and once someone gets it, it moves to a new space. Also, you'll notice that it's named after one of the Koopalings. This is to maybe incentivize Nintendo to, actually include enough boards instead of some weird river rapid side mode that literally no one asked for. Yes, I'm still salty that I spent $60 on this game. Anyway, this board has exactly 85 spaces, with 45 blue, 8 red, 19 green, 3 Bowser, and 2 Donkey Kong spaces. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. To make sure I arranged these spaces in an interesting way, I started by making every 6 spaces a red space. I then placed 1 to 2 green spaces in between, made some of the red spaces Bowser spaces, turned the rest blue, and moved some around to make it a bit less formulaic and repetitive. This ensures that both the board as a whole and individual segments of the board have a good distribution of space types. I also laid them out so that there's no stretch of more than 10 spaces without some sort of branch. This ensures that on a decent roll, you'll always have some sort of choice to make. So that's the first 2 factors checked off, but now I'd like to take you on a little tour of this island, its many features, and how I derived them all from our 7 factors. Our players begin here, on the southwest shore of the island. I imagine this as the prototypical first board of a Mario Party game, so the beginning section is pretty simple. A stretch of 6 spaces, mostly blue, 1 red, 1 green item space that's flavored as a Pianta fishing to fit the theme. Since the average roll on a 10-sided die is 5.5, on your first turn, you're probably not gonna reach the first fork. You're gonna have 1 turn to get your bearings before anything crazy happens. At the first fork, you'll come across the first major set piece of this board, the volcano. When the game starts, the volcano is dormant. However, there are a few happening spaces around the board that will cause the volcano to erupt, spewing magma balls across the board that will temporarily change some of the spaces. Early in the game, these changes won't be anything crazy, maybe just changing a few blue spaces to red for a few turns, but as you get deeper into the game, the volcano's effects will become more and more intense whenever it's triggered. It'll start affecting more spaces and start throwing out super red spaces that take away 6 coins, Bowser spaces, maybe even extra DK spaces. There are 4 happening spaces that will trigger this volcano, meaning that in a 20-turn game, you can expect it to go off around 3 to 4 times. But you can also buy an item called Larry's Wand, which you can use to trigger the volcano at any time you choose. And you'll see why you might want to do that in a bit. This is designed to increase the randomness and chaos of the board, while the wand also gives you some strategic opportunities to literally rain on other players' parades. Rain hot magma and lava, that is. As it should be. If you follow the north path around the back of the volcano, you'll come across a Goomba pirate looking for money. Landing on his event space gives you a chance to earn some bonus cash, which you'll probably want because it's also home to the first shop. And now, a lot of you may be thinking, hey, I thought you said that there were no straightaways longer than 10 spaces, but that looks pretty long to me, mister. And you'd be right, which is why in the middle of this path, I've included the Plessy Dock. If you pass this, you'll be given the option to pay a small fee to have Plessy take you across the board, so it functions as a branched path. But, as an added little twist, there's also a happening space here where you'll encounter Messi, Plessy's evil twin and pro soccer player that everyone keeps telling me I look like. Messi will grab you and take you to a totally random space along the shore. Maybe he'll be a pal and take you super close to the store, or maybe he'll punch your hopes and dreams to the opposite side of the court. Again, I don't know anything about soccer. If you can avoid him, up here you'll find the first classic Bowser space. Land here and Bowser will spin his Wheel of Pain, filled with all sorts of negative effects for you and potentially everyone else too. Going back to the first branch, if you went east into the island, you can follow the path into the woods, or you can venture into the volcano itself and try your luck at the Path of Peril. If any of you were looking at my space math from earlier and realized that it didn't exactly check out, you can go ahead and edit your comment now. When you enter this cave, 8 random spaces will pop out of the lava. And when I say random, I mean random. They could be red, blue, green, with all sorts of weird effects. You can make money, lose money, get items, lose stars. If you can dream it, the Path of Peril can make it happen, baby! At the very end, there is one of 2 chance spaces, which operate just like any other chance space in Mario Party, in that it seems random, but is secretly programmed to cause the most chaos possible. And after that is an event where Larry will stop you and make you spin a wheel to gain or lose something important on your way out, just in case you rolled a 10 and skipped over all the chaos before. This section is for all you gamblers out there. You might walk out stacked with cash or completely broke. And once you leave, all the spaces will sink back into the lava and re-randomize the next time someone comes on in. And as one last added twist, if the volcano erupts while you're inside, whether due to a happening space or someone using a wand item to activate it, you'll be launched to a random space on the board. If that all seems too crazy, you can choose to continue east into the forest, and both these paths are different lengths and spit out in different places. So there are tactical reasons to take one over the other, aside from just channeling your inner chaotic neutral. Continuing north, you can link up with the shore path and run into some piranha plant spaces. They have a 50-50 chance of being awake and stealing 10 coins, or asleep where you get a free item. But if you choose to venture further into the forest, you'll encounter perhaps my favorite feature of this board: Ukiki. For those who don't know, Ukiki is that one monkey that always stole your hat in Mario 64. Well, he's back, and he's still up to his thieving ways. In this forest, there are 4 green spaces that will summon Ukiki to you. If you pay him a small fee, you can choose another player and send Ukiki after them. During the next turn, Ukiki will show up, spin a wheel, and steal something random from that player. Probably something small like a couple more coins than you initially paid or an item. And Ukiki will keep it for himself. You don't get it if you hired him. I mean, he's a thieving monkey. What did you expect? But here's where things get interesting. If Ukiki comes after you, before spinning the wheel, you can bribe him to go steal 2 things from someone else. And this can happen indefinitely, but his price increases every time he bounces to a new person, and the amount of stuff he can steal also increases. And the quality of items he can steal increases also. After only 2 or 3 bounces, suddenly you're risking losing large sums of coins or even stars. The dude's like Beetlejuice. One person summons him, and a few turns later the game is devolved into pure chaos as everyone scrambles to pass the buck until one person gets absolutely slammed. I wanted to have the energy of stacking a bunch of +2s in Uno. But there is one more wrench that I want to throw into this. There's some monkey wrench pun in there somewhere, but I can't find it. If you happen to land on an Ukiki space while he's out thieving, you can play a little micro game in the board, something simple like rhythm or mashing, and depending on how well you do, you can steal a bit from Ukiki's stash that he's accumulated throughout the game. Now, these games should be difficult. You shouldn't be able to just nail it every time with a couple rounds practice. But if you can make it happen, you could sit back the whole game watching other players tear each other apart, then sneak in and grab all their stolen stars for the win. This introduces some strategy. You need to pick your targets carefully to make sure you get the most bang for your buck, while ensuring that they don't just send them right back at you. And you need to decide when to take the hit and when to pay up and send them away. But more importantly, you need to strategize how to repair all your broken friendships as Ukiki steals every bit of goodwill that you and your friends had for each other. Long live Ukiki, let chaos reign! Once you make it out of the forest, you'll reach the beach where the inhabitants of the island are throwing a beach party. You can play a game of beach volleyball, visit Purple Toad's Shake Shack item shop, land on another chance space, or hit one of the 2 Donkey Kong spaces where you can play a small micro game and get a bunch of coins or a free star. I mean, it is the first board after all. We gotta give them some hope. And with that, you loop back around to the start to do the whole thing again. And thus, you have the perfect Mario Party board. Or perhaps one of the perfect Mario Party boards. After all, there are 6 more Koopalings who still need their own amazing boards. I tried to keep this one very much in the style of a classic board, but I got a lot more ideas left in the tank, and they only get crazier. So if you'd like to see this become an ongoing series, then maybe share this video with a friend. If it's popular enough, maybe I'll round off the Koopa family. And if any employees from Nintendo are watching and looking to get out of some work, as it were, look, just whenever the next Mario Party game comes out, maybe just send a couple of copies my way and nobody's gotta know a thing, alright? Also, like $20 would be nice, because I'm pretty sure Ukiki stole my wallet at some point as well. Where's that monkey? And a massive thank you to all my patrons, including Alakazam, Aspa102, Big Dog Tie for the win, Sidian, Gremlin the Goblin, Sherry and Mark, Starjoy, the Boss Killer 94, and Captain Kirby.